The 8 names will go through a vetting and screening process. If all 8 survive this, they will be called to Parliament for interviews. The 8 names selected are Ms. Muvango Lukaimane, who received 5 nominations from the committee, Advocate Seliso Tipanyane, who also received 5 thumbs up, Advocate Lynn Murray got 4 nods, Acting Public Protector, Advocate Koleka Tkaleka also came in with 4, Advocate Oliver Josie got 3, Advocate Thomas Ntsewa 3, Magistrate Joanna Ledwaba with 2, and Professor Boitumelo Musiniane also with 2. Not all parties were completely satisfied with how the process played out.
You're asking us to nominate 8 candidates, and it is quite obvious that those will be political appointees of the different political parties.
The IFP objected to these comments.
Not a single person here was voted by Inkatha. First time I'm seeing them. And whoever I'm going to propose here is on the basis of going through their interviews, their motivation, and whoever has contributed. And that is it. Simple as that. Help us. I'm not sure what people seek to achieve here.
The committee agreed to move forward with these names. According to Parliament's schedule, the committees will take place over 2 days towards the end of August. The committee will then deliberate on these and recommend a name to the National Assembly. Abra, Barbier, SABC News, Parliament.
On the back of that, let's bring in SABC News reporter monitoring developments in the appointment of the new public protector, Abra Barbier, who's going to unpack the shortlisting process. For us, Abra, good afternoon. Thank you for your time with us here. Perhaps you could walk us through the processes that unfolded today, the satisfaction or dissatisfaction of what's emerged as the 8 shortlisted candidates were announced today.
Liesl, good evening to you as well. Good afternoon, rather. Sorry about that. Today was actually quite confusing for many of us because we expected today to be a very long sitting of the committee. We had all prepped and planned to be working from early this morning till very late tonight because we just thought that the process would unfold, as the day goes by. But the committee, they called it today by lunchtime, I think they were done. And, we were all quite surprised. So what happened this morning was they asked parties to put forward their preferred names. Of that, 14 names were submitted, and then of those 14, the 8 were the top nominations from the parties. They, as you've heard in my package, they were then selected to go through to the interview process. But there was quite a bit of inter-party tension in the meeting today. Mr. Hanif Hendricks of Al Jamaa, he wasn't too happy with these 8 names just being selected. He feels that the bigger parties, they would just choose their preferred candidates and put their names down without actually interrogating all the CVs that they still have at the moment. His comment just before him, Nazir Paulson of the EFF, also raised this concern, and they actually wanted to go through all the CVs that they still have and then go through, make sure each one has the qualifications and that each person has the merits to actually go through to the next round, which is the interviews. The IFP then jumped in and said, hang on, no, how can you say that parties are putting forward their favorites? Because us as the IFP, we haven't even nominated anyone. We haven't even put forward a candidate. So there was a bit of tension between the political parties about that. The DA, if I recall correctly, the DA didn't even put forward a name, but they obviously are going to be there as the process unfolds when it comes to the deliberations on the qualifications and the merits of those who are going for the interviews. So for now, the party, the committee largely seems to be in consensus about what is happening. It was just the disappointment raised by the EFF and the Al Jamaa leader who are not too keen on the process. Liesl?
Abra, there's 11 voting and 40 non-voting MPs. And I wonder if you could just talk to who makes up the committee at this point, and then really the process is from here into the interviews to commence over the 2 days next month, really what they'll be focusing on, what we can also expect.
Liesl, so parties and committees, it's based on proportional representation. So the bigger parties, they have voting members. Not all the parties have voting members. The smaller parties, for instance, they are made up by the smaller parties with less seats in parliament, and they are represented by the IFP and the FF+. One issue that Mr. Hanif Hendricks raised as well, he didn't know who was representing him. As a small party, he wanted to know who's voting on my behalf. Nobody came to ask me which names I want to put forward. But the smaller parties had actually been meeting, and they had actually been discussing names, and they had a little conversation outside of the meeting to tell Mr. Hendricks, but you just weren't at our meetings. Okay, so fine, which names do you want to put forward right now? So he did then get a chance to put in one of his preferred candidates, but it was quite tense watching those parties, have those discussions that should have actually taken place before going into this meeting today. So I think the committee said they're looking at between the 21st and the 25th of August. As you know, the current public protector, the suspended public protector, her term comes to an end in October. So somebody has to obviously there has to be a name before the National Assembly, going into October. So the interviews will take place over 2 days, the last week of August. I recall with the last round of interviews, which I also sat in, it was a very open process. Journalists could monitor everything. It was online, so the public could also watch the proceedings. And what would happen is all the candidates coming in for their interviews on the day, they were ushered into a room. I don't think they were allowed to have any of their devices, no newspapers or anything while they were waiting in that room. And it will be interesting to see if that's exactly how it's going to be again this year. But with only 8 candidates, so they'll probably take 4 on the first day, 4 on the second day. So it shouldn't be too long of a day for the candidates when they do come for the interviews.
Okay, because that was actually my next question. I wanted to then look at the work of the committee to recommend a replacement by the 31st of August, whether the deadlines are tight or they'll actually meet those deadlines. But it seems that they are on track at this point.
Yes, I spoke to one of the staff members, one of the parliamentary staff members who sits on that committee as well, just to confirm the dates, because they didn't actually decide on the dates today. So we still don't know exactly which 2 days. But she did say to me, we have a plan of action, we have a program. And the last time I looked at the program, it was from the 21st, between the 21st and the 25th of August. So by the 25th, the interviews will be concluded, and then the MPs, then the tussling will then begin. The MPs will then decide which ones of those were the best. Currently, the most contentious, if I can call it that, candidate is the acting public protector, Advocate Galeka. She was nominated by more than one party. I think she got 4 thumbs up. The EFF made it very clear, however, that they were not keen on her being on that list. They didn't go into detail today, but they said, we just want you to be aware we are not happy with one of the candidates, but we will discuss this at our later meetings. So that later meeting they are referring to would be after the interviews, when parties will then start saying, I want this person because I think ABC. So that will then be the really tight and tense meetings, which will take place probably late August, early September.
Abra,
Liesl?
thank you. Thank you for that update. Abra Barbier, reporter, really just giving us the update as to what transpired today. 8 candidates shortlisted for position. This as the appointment for the new public protector is underway. Again, thank you to Abra for that update.